more interesting with Friday's final injury report for both teams. Browns at Las Vegas, Sunday, 4:25. Let's break it all down. We'll talk about it. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Join the everyday crowd, become an everyday, or subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Don't miss any of the action. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Browns, Raiders, Sunday in Las Vegas. It got a little interesting here, so we're going to go with that. Heard from both head coaches today, obviously. And for the Browns, we know that David Njoku will be out. Joel Bitonio will be I'm sorry, not Joel Bitonio. Jack Conklin will be out. Jedrick Wills will also be out. Pierre Strong out as well. I don't think it's really going to matter. I think Pierre Strong is only going to be on the roster, in my opinion, as long as Nick Chubb or Naheem Hines comes back. Probably seeing the end of him. Now, what we heard originally from Antonio Pierce, head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, is that Devontae Adams was going to be out. Max Crosby was going to be out. Thayer Mumford, right tackle, was going to be out. Devon Diablo is going to be out. Michael Meyer is going to be out with a personal designation, so you hope everything's all right with the Meyer family. And if you guys remember, there was a cornerback during the draft cycle out of Mississippi State that I absolutely loved, Decameron Richardson. He is also out with a hamstring injury. Now, here is where it gets a little bit different. So we got the word from the head coach that neither one of Max Crosby or Thayer Munford were going to play. The official injury report put out that just came out a few minutes ago has Max Crosby listed as doubtful and has Thayer Munford listed as doubtful as well. So I don't know exactly what changed there. I don't know if that means that there's a outside chance. I've always wondered, and it's always felt weird when you ruled a player out on Friday. You know, who knows what's going to happen in 36 hours? And even in this case, you know, by the time we get these Friday injury reports, it's almost 48 hours, especially when you account the fact that it's going to be a West Coast game. We don't have anything from anyone Cleveland beater related. My assumption there is that most of them are currently in the air flying to Vegas, as the team decided to depart and should be landing in Las Vegas shortly. They wanted to be out there ahead of the time change. Hopefully everybody minds their P's and Q's, understanding that it is Las Vegas. You can go out tonight, but you certainly can't go out on Saturday night. So it does create a certain, spell of confusion as to, who is in, who is essentially going to be out. If the Raiders were to play this game without Max Crosby, and keep in mind, he did not practice today, has not practiced all week, and his ankle injury is what is being described as a high ankle sprain. So there is, certainly that thought process to it. Max Crosby is a fantastic player. I'm trying to scroll around here, see if I'm finding any updates, and I don't have anything for you. I'm sorry. Fantastic player. But this team struggles against defending the pass. This team struggles against defending the run. And there's a good chance the best player that they have on that defense is not going to be available. They did bring in Christian Wilkins in the offseason. Great addition, great player. If you guys remember a couple of years ago, this was during Jacoby Brissett time. Browns went down to Miami, and Christian Wilkins was just an absolute beast that day. Devon Diablo, good player, not great player. They are missing their top safety, one injured reserve during what will be a contract year for him. Also lost another pass rusher in Malcolm Kuntz. He went on injured reserve. He is also out for the year. Look, this game is ripe for the taking. There are no excuses. There should be excuses. You're the Cleveland Browns or the Las Vegas Raiders. Everybody thought the Cleveland Browns were going to be a significantly better football team. Granted, we have not gotten to see any of that yet to this point. Oh, and by the way, anybody said, the Cleveland Browns made Daniel Jones look good. Look, Daniel Jones, I will tell as many Daniel Jones jokes as there is. Kid played his butt off last night against Dallas Cowboys on national television. So, missed a throw or two here. Certainly there was a bad call early in the game. Could have changed the Giants' fortune in that game. But, Daniel Jones maybe is improving. So, look, we still don't feel good about the loss by any means whatsoever. You do not feel good about the loss. But, maybe let's ease up a little bit on the defense because everybody seems to want to trash the defense here when we know god darn well the problem for the Cleveland Browns right now is the offense. Now, with the offense here, you're going to get into this. We're going to get to more of this in segment 2, and I'll talk about the offensive line and the skill because these guys got to start playing more up to their abilities. It's always going to come down to the quarterback, and I understand that, and everybody's always going to want to point the finger at the quarterback. And, for Deshaun, if it's not now, there may never be an opportunity. And look, I am not looking for Houston Texans Deshaun Watson. I think that is over. I think it's a fallacy. I think it's something that, we can't hang our hat on as the expectation for what Deshaun can or cannot do for this football team. What Deshaun needs to do for this football team is play clean football. He needs to play smart football. He needs to not turn the ball over. He needs to throw 2 checkdowns. And the other thing I think the Cleveland Browns need to do as a whole is what they did a couple of years ago when last year when Joe Flacco came in, start throwing the ball vertically. Throw the ball vertically. Yes, it may not always go well, but you have defenses suffocating you, absolutely suffocating you, bringing extra pass rushers. They have no fear of covering your receivers one-on-one if the routes are going to go 5 to 10 yards. There's no fear. Why would there be? It's foolish. You know what? If you did it with Joe and it turned out and it opened up a running game that was not really working so well at the time. It opened up what was a career year for David Njoku. Yes, I understand he will not be available on Sunday. These are things you do. You are playing arena-style football again. We have had this conversation many times over the years on Locked On Browns. And Coach Stefanski is one thing that I will always give a negative on, is Coach Stefanski does not work hard enough on vertical pass plays. There are not enough of them called. I don't know why. You have 2 receivers on this team right now over the last 2 NFL seasons were top 10 in catches over 25 yards. Throw the ball deeper. You are not playing the top teams in the NFL. You are not playing the top secondaries in the NFL yet. You need to start cutting your chops here a little bit. You are making it too easy to be defended. And it didn't hurt at times when you had a good running game. Right now, your offensive line can't run block. Your running backs are not the running backs that you were accustomed to and made your hay in your time here in Cleveland. I'm begging you, Coach. Start throwing the ball vertically. I don't understand what the point is of having all these receivers who run 4-4s, 4-3s, whatever. And every route is the same, and every round concept keeps a guy within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's a terrible way to do business. It needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed immediately. We're going to talk more about the all-line. We're going to talk more about the skill guys as your latest Locked On Browns rolls on. We appreciate everybody for sticking around. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page when you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Now, certainly a lot of conversations as to what the Browns are going to, trot out as far as an offensive line on Sunday here in Las Vegas. What we do know to this point is that left tackle will not be Jedrick Wills, and it will not be Jack Conklin. Neither player cleared. I don't even think either player is making the trip. So it gets you to the point of, do you go with James Hudson, who what you've seen certainly through 2 games now and some change, or you saw a half or so of Joe Bitonio on Sunday? I know it's not ideal. I know it's not ideal to take a player who's been in this league as long as Joel has been and has been playing left guard as long as Joel has been and asking Joel to go do this. But you need to find your 5 best offensive linemen right now and play them and figure out who's playing where. That's basically the way you got to do it. So when you closed out this game Sunday against the New York Giants, your offensive line consisted of Joe Bitonio at left tackle, Ethan Posick at left guard, Nick Harris at center, Zach Zinter, who will be making his first NFL start at right guard with Wyatt Teller on injured reserve, and DeJuan Jones. Run it back. The offense was starting to look a little better in the second half of that game. That was the offensive line in that game. So run it back with that group. And if it works, that's it. That's the offensive line for right now. There is way too much shuffling going on. I understand it is because of injury. I get that. But there is no cohesion. This is not a group that has been together in this system for years now. There are some new faces. There is a new system. There is a new offensive line coach. You cannot just expect this group to just go run it back to what it was in 2020, 2021. It's not working. It is not working. And maybe putting Joel on the outside maybe makes life a little easier for Joel. Joel right now is struggling with bull rush. He is struggling with defensive tackle penetration. Is it age is catching up to him? Is it that he's not 100%, which is certainly a fair case to bring up because we know the capabilities of number 75, Joel Bitonio. Maybe it'll be a little easier for him on the outside. Let the younger guys go in there and have to battle this out. Now, the one change I will give you that he can make at some point is when Wyatt Teller comes back. You can insert him back in, and at that point, if Zach Zinter wants to go from right guard to left guard, you put Posted back at center, something I'll consider. But for right now, this is the Cleveland Browns offensive line. And if it works Sunday and you are victorious Sunday, we're not scrapping it. We're not trying to find a way to squeeze somebody back in. You need to do what is best for this team today and in for the season of 2024. You need to start developing some cohesion. These guys have to start taking reps together. It is inexcusable to keep pulling these guys in, out. It's just not working. So if this is your 5, you put your 5 in and you ride your 5 and you see what comes of it. They have no choice. This is what they've got to do. Getting back to the skill players. I know a lot of people, Dante Foreman. Look, Dante Foreman, if just simply put, look at what he is doing. It is not what you were hoping for. This Cleveland Browns offense used to run well north of 4 yards per carry. Again, it's not the same offense. But 3 yards per carry is not acceptable in the NFL. It's not acceptable at college. It's not acceptable at high school. It's not acceptable anywhere. It's just not. I'll be honest with you. Gary Brightwell, who is probably most likely going to be brought up to play this game, I would rather Gary Brightwell get any carry that you think you're going to give to Dante Foreman than Dante Foreman. I would rather Gary Brightwell get this opportunity. Let's see what you got. I understand you have other running backs coming back. They're certainly not playing this week, but you have to do everything you have to do to get through this game on Sunday. Jerome Ford. I think Jerome, who started to look better in the second half last week, I think if Jerome is starting to run behind some of the same guys each and every rep, his play should get a little bit cleaner. It's just a fact. You get more comfortable. You know where guys are going to be. You know the blocks they're capable of making. You know the blocks they're not capable of making. You know when somebody goes pulling through the hole, okay, I know he's going to chip that linebacker, so I can already start making my cut towards the outside. It just makes things easier. It should make this offense function better. Tight end position, I don't know what you're going to get out of this position. And, anybody, David Njoku's not playing. He kind of practiced, guys. Kind of practiced. He didn't practice Wednesday. He went on the field Thursday, did some stationary drills and some positional work. Let's not be stunned that David Njoku is not playing. I mean, this is ridiculous. And again, I see everybody getting upset. Oh, well, Conklin and Wills aren't playing. They didn't practice, not playing. These guys aren't back yet. Whether, we were duped, we were lied to. My biggest issue is why were they ever on the 53-man roster? You got a half of football, if that, out of Jedrick Wills. These guys have been on the roster and will be on the roster for 4 games. These are other bodies you could have had. These are other bodies you certainly needed early in the season. That was a straight-up blunder. It was a mistake. It was a blunder. This team needed the extra bodies. And it wasn't, I just don't get it. And it made, they could have come back off that list at any given time. The Browns were adamant about this, and it's kind of blowing up in their faces. And now we are week 4, and we still do not know who the starting offensive line is. That is a terrible place to be in the National Football League with the state of defensive line play in the NFL right now. It is a terrible spot, a terrible place to be. Now, the wide receivers. And look, this works hand in hand with Deshaun. There is no doubt about that, obviously. You bring all these guys in, and you expect all of them to be playmakers. Well, last week, it was the Amari Cooper show. Jacksonville, it was the Jerry Jeudy show. Week 1, it was kind of the Elijah Moore show. Why can these three not all work in unison? Why can't there be, last night alone, Malik Neighbors, Wandell Richardson for the Giants, 12 receptions, 11 receptions. You should get 20-plus receptions between Cooper, between Jeudy, and between Moore. You were paying all of these guys really good money, and you were not getting them enough targets. Yes, offensive line can be the reason. Yes, Deshaun Watson can be the reason. Throw the ball. Wide receivers are the ultimate motor car on the highway type of thing. The longer you drive them, the better they get. Well, catching one ball in the first quarter, getting one thrown to you in the middle of the third quarter, and then another one thrown to you in the fourth quarter. No wide receiver gets in the groove, gets in the rhythm like that. They just don't. It's a constant. Keep them going. Keep them fed. And you saw the way the Cowboys were doing the same thing last night with CeeDee Lamb. You've got to get these guys fed. And of your 30, 40 pass plays, these guys should be getting two-thirds of it. Minimum. 65%, 70%. You're not throwing the ball to David Njoku. Jerome Ford is the only running back you would throw to out of the backfield. So where are these passes going? More Jeudy, more Amari Cooper. This is the only thing you can do. And look, you're getting close to last chance saloon. You're on the road this week in Las Vegas. You were on the road next week in Washington, a team that is already coming on faster than anybody anticipated. Then you go to Philly afterwards, who by that time should have Devontae Smith back and A.J. Brown back. You're on the road 3 weeks in a row. You need to get this first one, at least get yourself 2-2. And then hopefully you get a split in the next two. But this team needs to get it right, immediately. Your offensive linemen need to start playing like an offensive line. They need to have some cohesion. You cannot keep getting your quarterback killed. Your quarterback, when he is clean, cannot think that there is pressure coming when it's not. He has to be 10 times faster with getting the ball out. He knows this. He speaks of this. He knows this is one of his general weaknesses. And your wide receivers, and you have two of them making extremely good money, need to start performing up to what they're being paid. Amari Cooper, it was a nice bounce back last week. It needs to continue. You're going to Las Vegas. The place is going to be a 50-50 crowd at worst. It could be a favor to the Cleveland Browns. Get it right. Get on the road. Get a W. We're going to talk some predictions. We're going to talk some other things as we close this out. Your Locked On Browns pregame show. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less than a 2 to 6 player stat projection, and you watch your winnings roll in. Last time we're going to get this one. Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I will take the over on Amari Cooper. I will take the over on Jerry Jeudy. I will take the over on Elijah Moore. The Browns passing game is going to get going Sunday in Vegas. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Become an everydayer, and if you're not one by now, make a new plan, stay on that new plan, and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcast. Browns going to Vegas Sunday. We got some little chicanery, obviously, with the injury report to this point. Still nothing from any of the Cleveland beaters. I think part of that is probably because, as I said, I still think they are traveling to Las Vegas. We had Q on the other night. He is a big part of the Las Vegas Raiders game day experience. To this point, I don't have any much more, but he was the one that put up the injury report stating that some guys are doubtful. So Max Crosby is listed as doubtful, was said by Antonio Pierce today to be out. The right tackle Munford, listed as doubtful, was said by Antonio Pierce earlier today to be out. Michael Mayer, personal, hasn't practiced all week. Again, you hope it's nothing big. You did hear Antonio Pierce talk last week, though, about maybe some players on the Las Vegas Raiders were making some business decisions. And when he meant business decisions, he meant not good for business, not putting the team first. So I don't know why that would relate to Michael Mayer not being in the roster in practice all week. Michael Mayer was a fantastic player coming out of Notre Dame. There was never any talk of any type of this type of stuff with him. He does do more of the grunt work at the tight end position for the Las Vegas Raiders, which means we'll see Brock Bowers, which means we'll probably see a lot more of old friend Harrison Bryant. But what I can tell you about Brock Bowers and what we all know about Harrison Bryant is neither one of these guys blocking is the forte of their tight end existence. So it's another thing that should favor the Cleveland Browns, is that they're going with two tight ends, and now they like to play a lot of two tight end sets, but neither one of them are very good blockers. Certainly something to watch in that game. The Raiders don't run the ball well. The Browns have struggled at times against the run. They did, a lot of people says it was an issue last week against the Giants. I don't think so. You take out that one long run, certainly at the end by Devon Singletary. It was 31 carries for 69 yards. That's not a bad deal for me. I'm okay with that. I expect that type of performance from the run D Sunday against Las Vegas. Gardner Minshew certainly had a very interesting game against Cleveland Browns last year. Only completed 15 passes, but for well over 300 yards. Had a long one to Dobbs from the Indianapolis Colts. Had another 75-yard to Michael Pittman. So a lot of that was skewed, but Gardner Minshew was running around all day making plays, and Gardner Minshew's a pain in the butt. He always has been. He has had times where he has excelled and looked good every place he has been in his existence in the NFL. You do not sleep on Gardner Minshew by any means whatsoever. So if the Browns pass rush would like to pick this week to get back to what we know and what we expect for them, yeah, that would be fantastic. But he's slippery. He certainly can get loose, but we know he can let the ball go with a solid hit, or he does get lazy with where the ball is when he is blind to pressure. We also saw Myles Garrett knock the ball out of his hand last week, be loose in the end zone. Last year, Tony Fields covered up for a touchdown. You need to go in there and establish yourself. Offensively, get the skill involved. You got to get Cooper going early, Moore going early, and Jerry Jeudy going early. There are no excuses anymore. Your backs are to the wall. You are 1-2. You're facing 1-3, and then 2 more road games after that. There are 0 excuses for this team. You need to right the ship immediately. And now it looks like you're getting some things that breaking in your favor. I am not going to go boo-hooing that Jed Wills and Jack Conklin aren't playing. They barely played this year. Wills has barely played. Conklin hasn't played at all. So I'm not boo-hooing that either of these guys are here. I'm not. I would take the guys who are here and the guys that are ready to go. And if that means I got to make major upheaval on my offensive line, and then I got to take a 30-something-year-old veteran who's been in the league over double-digit years and say, bro, I need you to play left tackle for me, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Zach Zinter was the Browns' best offensive lineman last week. I'm really looking forward to the rookie's first career start here in Las Vegas. Promising prospect coming out of Michigan. Would have been higher thought of in the draft process if he had not broken his leg in the Ohio State game last year. This guy is going to be a solid player for this year, for this team here this year and in the future. He will be a starting guard for the Cleveland Browns in 2025. Question will be the left side. Question will be the right side. But Zach Zinter will get that nod. So play that offensive line of Bitonio, Posick, Harris, Zinter, DeJuan Jones, where you're starting to get some youth in here, some younger guys in here. And if that works and they play well, let it roll. That's your offensive line for the foreseeable future. And that's just the way it should be. You can't keep tinkering. These guys need the reps together. They need the cohesion together. Now, as for who wins and loses on Sunday, it'd be an absolute travesty. And you want to know what? If they want the building in Berea to go butt wild with trouble and negativity, losing this game will do that. The Cleveland Browns will go into Las Vegas on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns will beat the Las Vegas Raiders 27-13. I said it last week. I was wrong. I'll say it again. The Cleveland Browns will beat the Las Vegas Raiders 27-13. Right the ship and start getting ready to go to Washington to face the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals. I suggest you become a filthy animal as well. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Don't miss any of the action. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.